Welcome to the Dev Banner. This is Eric. Episode 7. This is pretty much the last of the core part of this Prognos project, our budgeting project. And what better way to finish is actual budgeting and reporting, because you can put all your data in and how you're doing against your budget. If you don't do anything with your budget, is kind of defeats the purpose of the program. But anyways, here we go. Starting off, let's go in terminal and start the program. As you see, I have a new item that you can choose called budget. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into there. And I have two more that you can do the report or the budget allocation. Now, we can do the report, but I haven't actually allocated how much budget I want per month against each category. So let's go to this budget allocation, and you'll see that I have these categories, and these should look familiar with what I have done in the past episodes with the sample files that I produced. So let's go ahead, and all you do is choose each one, and you say, okay, for home I want to do 200. And for auto, let's do all of these, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm putting the last one in called medical, and you'll see that I just kind of put some random numbers in, and I got 1440 as my total amount. And so now we can exit and go into reporting. Now, in reporting, I give two options last month. So what we'll take is this. You'll take today's date, and I'll show you this, and just go grab last month from today's date, or you can do custom. And since I know that we were playing around with a couple of files that were late, mid to late last year, we're going to go ahead and do custom. And I believe some of them were in August. So we're going to go ahead and say, okay, give me this format, and that's the start. The end is what I mean not inclusive, and this is something that I've had to deal with as an engineer, software engineer, and dealing with dates is, do you include the date that you want as you put it in, or do you say, hey, I want to go up through the date but not include this date? And so in this case, I'm going to say it's not inclusive. So if I want the full month, then I'm going to say the end date is, and this more matters not necessarily with the time, but just if you're dealing with days that I've noticed in the past. So I'm just going to say, give me all of August, the 7th month, and July, the 7th month. I don't know my months very well. And, but I'm going to get everything, but not August 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And you'll see that what it does is goes through every transaction. If it's groceries, it adds it up, compares it to the budget. And I put this little nice note saying approaching budget, or in big bold, hey, you're over budget on these items. And so as you do this, you can see how you're doing with what you need. What you need might change, whether it's your spending habits, or maybe you might need to change your budget. And so if I come and do custom again, and I do 08, 22, and 09, you'll see that some of the other categories are repeating, like eating out is always going to be there. And you'll see that I've done over budget on a few of these. I know that auto is more than $50. And then one of the problems I've got right here is this thing that doesn't have a category. And that might be something we might want to change in this program. I'm going to leave it for now, but if you want to fix it, how would you fix it? And that is to probably, in this case, as you go through these categories, adding them all up. If the category is 0, which is that's what we're holding, that's not a category, that's the indicator, you don't want to include it on this list. And so that is the budget part. This was an easy episode and probably going to be pretty short. But let's go through the code really quick and give us a little bit more room. I'm going to come over to the git diff. And one of the things that probably the biggest thing was just in the terminal outputting to the terminal is probably the biggest difference. And you'll see that we've got some functions to do the last month or the custom month. There's not anything other than this print budget. There's nothing really in here that we might want to look at other than dates. If you've never dealt with dates, this is, and I might have gone over this, but you'll have to read more of the documentation on dates. But this is how you parse a date, meaning that this is a string that should be in this format, and if it is, they've kind of arbitrarily said, hey, the first month, the second day in 2006 is the year substitute or the month or the date substitute that we want to use. And the time is like 05, 04, 15 minutes, hour, minutes, and seconds, I should say, 15 seconds. And those are, so if I wanted a date with a time, I would do 04, 05, 15. And as long as my date and time is in that format as a string, it will parse it and make it a date based on that value that's coming in on the string. So that's probably about the only thing out of here. We've got the budget allocation kind of print, printing all that information out on the screen, parse input float. I made a bunch of utility functions that has always kind of been there, but this was just, it's an easy little helper function that prints out this message and then gives you back a float. So and you've probably seen all that. So that's pretty straightforward. This as you can see, I have this find budget allocation, and then if the budget amount, it's budget amount either, this is just the main main code logic to give that note, whether it's over budget or at budget or approaching budget. I decided that like 80% is that approaching budget. If you're like right on, which you may or may not be, you'll get this at budget. So those are kind of the logics I put. I did have this to do. It might be something, and that is, this for loop. You could make this into a map. I think I've shown that before in the past on some other videos of mine, that maps are a little bit more efficient if you want to look for something that, like with a key, maps are pretty efficient that way. I do have a video about arrays and maps, and that would talk about that. So we don't want to save. And then we just added in the main just for the budget menu. And the last one is I'm going to go to the transactions, the entity transactions, and I'm going to give me all the transactions based on a date. So basically I get all the transactions, and then I just look for if the date that I'm looking for is either before and after what I'm looking for from a transaction standpoint, its date, and then I append it. So It's pretty simple. Go grab all the transactions. Is it in the date time frame that I want? If so, I put it part of the transactions and send it back. That is the video. What I really want to take last 20, 30 seconds is what's coming up for this series. And now that we're done, and we're not done, core, like I said, core coding is done. What I like to do is get rid of, first of all, get rid of the files as a store, and we're going to bring in a database and how that works. And that will probably be just an episode. And then on top of that, I would like to say, well, the terminal's great and all, but give us something else. And so now I'm going to, after the database, we're going to start using some other like front end, as they say, or different UIs and how we can plug those in and get a little bit better looking application out of this. And hopefully some, not just coding and go, but some engineering will follow over these next couple of videos. And I'm kind of excited about it because this has been kind of a little bit tedious and boring, but sometimes coding is like that. And but it's all good. So thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time. Please subscribe to the channel and make sure notifications are turned on.